JMB Go Get Alive. My name is Mark Gilzine. I'm your financial planning performance specialist at JMB. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode. Last week, we had a great discussion on what women really want. And indeed, it was a very insightful discussion. If you missed any of our previous webinars, you may watch them on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and our LinkedIn pages. As we continue with this month's theme, Man Talk, the topic tonight is the drivers of success. In life, there is no difficulty which we can't overcome, especially when we are really determined. Many of us fail in big ways and small ways because our determination was never strong enough. Determination is very important because it enables us to persist in the face of difficulties. Tonight, we will hear from Major Basil Jarrett. He is the Civil, Military, Corporation, and Media Affairs person at the officer at the Jamaica Defense Force. And Kwame Brooks, he's a country treasurer here at JMB. Hear their personal stories of how they never gave up even when they faced hard times. We started the Go Get Alive series to support our clients and listeners through the coronavirus pandemic with financial advice and lifestyle recommendations. And we will continue to be here for you. Let's get started. So, it is often said, it really doesn't matter how you start, but it is how you finish. That is my personal motto. Basil and Kwame, briefly describe your personal journey in relation to that statement. Tell us about your background and how your journey brought you to where you are today.
Oh, hey, Mark. No, you're absolutely right. It's funny. I was talking to Kwame a little bit, earlier than this, and in exchanging stories, we realized that we both originated from St. Elizabeth, very humble areas in St. Elizabeth. And when you grow up coming from such humble beginnings, you really have to have a vision of where you want to go in life, not to be sidetracked or lose sight of what those goals are. For me, I think one of the biggest, most critical factors in ultimately shaping the direction my life took was when I moved to Kingston and I started to attend Jamaica College, the number one high school in Jamaica, as you know. And when I went to JC, I over the 7 years there, I learned that we don't do ordinary things as JC old boys. When you attend Jamaica College, you're going to be blessed with an education that will launch you into a particular trajectory. The old boys that we interacted with helped to make you believe in more than what you thought you could achieve. And so JC was very, very instrumental in shaping the direction that my life took. And I learned too at JC that the key to success in life is a solid education. And it's one of the things that we try to drive now as the Old Boys Association. We try to remind these kids that, look, high school, it's fun, but it's fleeting. And the real challenge of life is yet to come. Grasp the opportunity right now, get your education, get a solid education, regardless of, whether you're a sportsman or maybe you're not academically inclined. Get a solid education under your belt. For me, that coupled with the environment of just being around the great old boys helped to guide me in the directions and the decision that I ultimately made.
Okay. We want to also acknowledge our viewers today. We see you out there, Raquel, Junie Davis Green, Clyde, Ingrid Stevenson, So Young, Michelle Antoinette. Welcome all. Call your family, call your friends, call your colleagues. This is a session about success. We're going to be looking at success, and especially in the time of COVID, we want to look at the whole idea of endurance and enduring trials. I want to also welcome now Kwame Brooks to the conversation. Kwame, how are you doing?
Good night, and I'm doing very well.
Great. So just like I'd posed to Major Jarrett, briefly describe your personal journey in relation to the whole idea of it's not how you start, but how you finish. So tell us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to where you are today.
Right. So again, just like Major said, um, coming from very humble beginnings in rural St. Elizabeth, um, grew up in a farming community with very little resources, and went to Monroe College. And upon arriving at Monroe, it was a whole new beginning for me. Her eyes were open to new possibilities and the things you never imagined. We have a very strong old boys association. We have a lot of mentors that encouraged us and guided us. And the motto for the school itself says, in arche sitam quis occulta habit. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. In other words, once you have come to this noble institution, you will go into the world and your light should shine so that everybody can see it. So we were taught to be agents of change, and we hone skills, friendship, and build support in each other, encouraging each other, and learning that no matter what the challenges that we face in life, we will and can overcome. So that's what drove me and my passion towards a good, solid education, learning that education will be my change agent, and that once you have acquired knowledge, then you will be able to make a difference in this world.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that, Kwame. As you guys can see from my shirt, you see the red, you see the white. I'm a champion old boy. So everybody begin up high school, so I don't want to leave out my alma mater. Big up champion. All right.
Mark, you came off the bus too early, man. You should have next up.
All right. So yes, we just want to acknowledge some of our viewers. So welcome Miguel, welcome Shanique, welcome Christine. Happy to have you guys. So the other aspect of the question, both yourself, Kwame, and Basil, I want you to share on your personal journey and the drivers of what allowed you to get to where you are today. This is we're looking at now your personal philosophy. What is your personal philosophy, Major Derek?
You know, that's an interesting question, because you find that over time your philosophies change depending on where you are and and what you're doing and what's important at the time. I remember when I was growing up, it was very important to be able to fixate on leaving something better than the way you found it. So again, if you're at JC, then you needed to leave JC. You needed to leave your mark on Jamaica College. That was what I learned. When I was at university, you leave your mark. You leave the place better than you found it. So earlier on in my life, it was very important to me to leave a legacy wherever I was coming from. It was important so that when you leave, people remembered you, and they remembered you for the right reason. Later on, my philosophy started to change, and I started to realize that, yes, it's important to leave a legacy, but you have to be able to visualize what you want that legacy to be. There's a lot of talk now about having a vision board and being able to, visualize your success and you will achieve it. And, a lot of the Oprah Winfrey mumbo jumbo that we men usually dismiss when you listen to your wives, talking about, they're going to build their vision boards for 2020 and all of that. But you laugh at it, but then you realize that you are doing the same thing. You know where you want it to be. You had an idea of the type of success that you wanted to achieve. And when you begin to work your way back, you see the small steps that you can take in order to achieve it. So if you don't have that vision, it's very difficult to figure out where you're going in life and how you're going to get there. And this is something that whenever we interact with the boys at JC, you realize that a lot of them don't have that vision. A lot of them, they may come from humble beginnings, and if you don't show them something greater than that, they'll probably never realize that they can be greater than that. And this is a major part of the mentorship program that we have at JC, exposing some of the kids to things that they may not have seen in life. So for me, a major part of where I go and where I'm going has to do with the end game. I start with the end in mind and then work it back. That works. It has served me well so far, and it's good advice I think I'd give to any young man.
Well said. And one thing you said that really touched a nerve for me, Major, is the whole thing of leaving a legacy. As a father, as I know you are, and as I know Kwame is as well, it's very important for us to leave a legacy, you know, for our children, especially our boys. Well, for our girls as well, but it's important and to set a different precedent than has been set in Jamaican society. Yes, I see you, Jessica. I see you, Aston. Red is indeed strong. So Kwame, over to you. What is your personal philosophy and how has it helped you to get to where you are today?
Well, I wouldn't say I have one philosophy. Like Major said, there are several philosophies and you use them at different points in time. So having gone to Monroe and growing up in a community which everyone had to go to church, we carried a few principles with us. One of the key ones for me was always, I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. And another one was build your foundation and build a solid foundation, like Christ says, right? Now, something else I learned was that time waited and no man, and time wasted cannot be regained. So one should make hay while the sun shines. You know, while in school, one professor said to me, the only difference between I being on the rostrum and you being down there is age. I said, what do you mean? He says, you can become greater than I am. The only difference is that you're not as old as I am to be up here as yet. Now that stuck with me for life. That my possibilities are endless. And all one has to do is to have the right attitude and work hard with determination and dedication to achieve what one wants. Oftentimes in life, you hear people say, oh, that guy is lucky. I tried to put my own definition to luck and say, what does luck mean for me? Because I want to be lucky. But for me, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So my philosophy is always try to be prepared for what you want to become. Another important philosophy of mine, I use it in finance and I use it in life in general. Never limit your vision to your current status. In other words, dream big. Never limit it to what you have in front of you. Because if you are lacking vision, then you have nowhere going.
We're definitely warming up now, Kwame. We're definitely warming up now. So what we're getting into now is the whole idea of mindset and the mindset about winner. And you've touched on it. So I just want to go over to Major Jarrett now. What is the mental mindset that you use to succeed and get to your goals? Now we're talking about philosophy before. Now we're looking at the mental mindset for you, Major. And what is that?
Well, that's simple. That you need to work for it. You need to put in the work. Having the desire to leave that legacy and having that vision in mind, that's just the beginning. You, at the end of the day, you do need to put in the work. I remember, just to give you an example, I remember when I was going to high school, started playing basketball at a very late stage. I think I first picked up a basketball in 5th form. And it was on a challenge. A friend of mine challenged me that, I couldn't make the basketball team because I've never played basketball before. I had the height for it, but I didn't have the skills, obviously. And, it was just a little joke under the big tree one day. And I decided that, all right, I'm going to prove him wrong. Now, at the time, there were 2 teams. There was a junior team and the senior team. And I was young enough to be on the junior team at the time. The junior team used to train from maybe 2 to 4, and then the big guys would come out and train from 4 to 6. I knew that because I had such a late start in life, I had to work twice as hard. So I would train with the junior team from 2 to 4, and then I would just segue right into the training with the senior team. So I'd be putting in 4 hours a day, training with the big boys literally from the afternoon until it got dark, hanging out with the big boys, getting that mentality, going up against them. I did that for about 3 months, made the team, and within 2 years, I was captain of the JC basketball team. And I was able to use that experience to, play basketball at the club level, play basketball at the university level, and even try my hand overseas when I was studying in the US. But if I did not work twice as hard to catch up with that group and then to get ahead of them, then it would not have come together. I would have just been an average player. Although they will still say I'm an average player, but I needed to work twice as hard just to be average. So you know how far I was coming from. So it's very important that the hard work and the sweat goes in it's a cement that brings all of that determination and the vision and the drive. It brings it together. Hard work is a cement that's going to bring all of this together to give you the end result.
And well said, well said. There is no. Oftentimes we think there's something wrong with hard work, putting in the effort, going the extra mile. And I want to encourage Jamaica to really be okay with putting in the extra effort. Be okay with being uncomfortable. The whole be self-aware. Understand what it is that you're thinking about. Understand that you're having thoughts of being lazy, thoughts of not really putting in that extra effort. You know what you need to do to pass, but it's okay to get the A, and it's okay to work hard. This whole thing of being cool, be okay being a nerd, be okay working hard and achieving what you want. That's cool too, right? So we want to get.
I agree. I think hard work gets a bad rap nowadays.
Yes.
Because everything is online and automated and digital and at your fingertips. They work smarter, not harder. Yes. That generation seems to be coming out more and more to the fore. And no, there is still no substitute for hard work.
That's right. That's right. So we want to acknowledge now Coco Caballero, Pauline, Kevin, Shanique. The comments are heating up, guys. Keep it coming. Shanique says, excellent, exactly. Make preparations. Diana says, true words. Michelle, Stephanie, we have a whole heap of people in this conversation. And we were very glad that you're engaged. Guys, bring out your children, bring out all your family members to listen to this conversation. And I know during COVID time, this is just another obstacle in life. I want to encourage everybody here, all of you out there, to understand that the COVID is just another obstacle that you would face in life. We're going to look back at this time in history and smile and say, wow, I overcame this time. I was there and I made it through. And you're going to feel so much stronger for having endured during this time. All right. So we're going to continue looking at that whole thing of the winning mindset. So Kwame, how do you use your strengths as tools to get to where you want to go in life? Please share examples if you can.
Well, it's said that never waste a bad situation, because in all bad situations, there are extremely good lessons to be learned. And more often than not, there are very good opportunities to grasp from it as well. So I have a philosophy that says all good things work together for the greater good. So all things working together for the greater good means that in every situation, you have to find the positive, motivate you, give you the drive to continue along your path. Now, one thing that must be very clear is that there is no shortcut to success. There is absolutely no shortcut to success. One have to work hard, one have to work smart. You must put in the work. Whichever field you are, you must study, you must do your research, you must learn the area, have authority over the area. And likewise in your life, you must take time out to understand who you are, Who are the people you are interacting with? What is the situation you will be facing? Possible challenges and how to deal with them. You know, I once listened to a sermon where a pastor was explaining the Lord's Prayer. And he says, how many of us understand that when we say, Lord, give us strength, what is it that we are asking for? And my takeaway was that he said, listen, a weightlifter lifts heavier and heavier weight to know that he's getting stronger. So when you ask the Lord for strength, it means that he's going to throw bigger and bigger hurdles at you. And when you overcome them, then that is when you will realize that you have become mentally stronger. So in life, when these challenges come at you, it's a test to see if you're getting stronger. It is not something to throw you down, and it is not something for you to give up on. It is to use as an exercise to build muscle so that you become better at your craft and so that you become a stronger person in life. Now, I'll give you an example in my situation. After leaving university, I had no job. And I told myself I could not go back to St. Elizabeth because my parents had used all their last savings to send me to school. So what am I going to do? I said, listen, unlike some people who are going back home, I have nothing to go back home to. So my only alternative is to make it in Kingston. I took a knapsack on my back. And I don't know if many of us know where the craft market is in downtown, near where Ribby's is by the waterfront now. I walked from the craft market all the way out Marcus Garvey Drive on all the turnoffs along Spanish Town Road, all the way out to the 6 Mile Bridge. And I left resumes at all the companies because I'm saying I have nothing to go back home to. I can tell you, I've walked that journey, which is 6 miles, as it says, 6 miles into Kingston, right? I've walked that journey, leaving resumes until I know I had to get a call from somebody for an interview. You know, people laugh when I told them the story. And I said, listen, I have no choice going home. I must get a job. I eventually got a job. The job I got was just enough to pay rent and buy food. There was nothing else there. And I said, okay, this job that I have needed a car. So how am I going to solve this situation? I found a friend who had a car. I said, listen, we have to share. I'll take you to work. I'll buy your car in the days and I'll pick you back up in the evenings. So when in the evenings, I would pick him up and we share and tag along. Now, as soon as I was able to buy a car, I had car payment now on the same salaries. I said, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? Surprisingly, an idea came in my head. And I said, you know, when I used to take bus to work, there are many of us who used to struggle on the bus. If I could say to these guys, I will take you to work in the morning and you pay me just like you would pay a taxi, then maybe it would work. So I became a little taxi man in my early days, carrying my friends and people who I used to travel with to work and back home in the evenings. And that is how I started surviving. And that took me along a path of entrepreneurship, where I was later able to own taxis, own cars to rent, and get into transportation business because that led me along a path of opportunity. So that is one of the challenges I faced, and that is how I created an opportunity from that.
Wow, wow. So a lot of times we see people and we don't know it. And you've now touched on a very important point. Can we say we would have succeeded if we don't have challenges? And along that line, Major Jarek, what is your greatest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Mm, it's a very good question. There've been so many. um, Obviously, coming from very humble backgrounds, very coming from a very a family that, you know, as a producer said earlier, we weren't born with a gold spoon in our mouth. So obviously, money was an issue. Um, when I started to go to university, obviously we didn't have the money, but there was a student loan as an option. The understanding though was that you would still have to pay this back, and you know, even as a young person leaving high school at the time, I think it was about $24,000 a year, which back then was a lot of money, you know. But even as a 24-year-old, being told that before you finish university, you're going to owe almost $100,000 in student loan, that alone is daunting. So money and the access to money was obviously a challenge. How did I overcome that? Well, you just had to be creative and you had to live within your means. You have a vision financially, you may not be able to afford that vision right now, but it just means that you may have to delay some of that immediate gratification for the greater good. So I learned very early the value of saving, investing. When I was going to high school, I used to collect comics as a big comic book fanatic. And I used to buy comics all the time, all the time, all the time, save my money, save my lunch money, save my bus fare sometimes to buy comics. So I learned very early in life the value of saving for what you want. Earlier on, I was able to build on that lessons, build on those lessons to buy, maybe it's not the nicest car on the road, but you knew that you were working towards something else and you would save and invest and you'd get there. And I think that too is a very important lesson, especially giving the JMB context in which we're having that discussion, that if money is a challenge, sometimes you really just have to throttle back, sacrifice, save, invest, and have a very shrewd investment plan in the back of your mind. So for me, that was one of the early struggles, just not having the money to get what you want. Eventually, I think people recognize that if you're disciplined and you're determined, people will recognize that and they will give you the opportunities, because a lot of people out there who you see in positions of, you know, have being in high positions right now, they themselves came from humble background. And when they see that in a young man who's trying and has determination and ambition, I find that a lot of people are willing to give you an opportunity if you show the right character. And again, and I really hate having to go back to my high school, because people will keep saying, dude, you left high school 20 something years ago. Why do we keep talking about that? But some of the lessons that you learned there, and character was one of them, that if you have good character, if you have good morals, good, strong ethical values, and a very strong foundation, people will recognize that and it will be rewarded later in life. So for me, it was a combination of sacrificing the early success for the greater good and balancing that with the good character, being of integrity, strong ethical and moral values, and society rewards you. You have to still believe that at the end of the day, society rewards good people. That's, in a nutshell, that is sort of some of the things that I've learned over the years. And I try to impart that with my kids. You still want your children to grow up hungry, determined, but at the same time, you don't want to sacrifice what you didn't want to have them sacrificed because of what you didn't have. And we, as parents, we have to be very careful that in not overcompensating for our shortcomings, we take away the challenges from our kids that really build character and that determination and that drive. So I think that is important. Teaching your kids the importance of delayed gratification, saving for what you want, investing for what you want, and being willing to sacrifice now for the greater good tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. So not only do we want hard workers, we want good people. And along the lines of being a good person, some would say that what is success without humility? So Kwame, over to you. What is it that keeps you grounded with all the success you've attained in life? What is it that keeps you grounded?
Well, I would say first and foremost, I have a natural love for people. So coming from the humble beginnings that I came, I grew up in a community where everybody knew each other. and nobody was better than anybody else. You know, we shared and we all cared. And I've carried that with me through life. You know, we are sharing is caring, right? And regardless of who you are, like Garnet Silk said in his song, a man is just a man, you know, or like the hymnal says, regardless of who you are, 6 man will take you back. So life for me is about caring. And I have a saying that I share with my friends. It's all about, you know, my friend says it's all about love, and I extended it. I said my philosophy is love for self, love for others, and love for the earth. That is what keeps me grounded. The fact that I do care about the people around me, I care about my environment, and I love sharing other people's success. Like it is, it brings joy to my heart to see somebody struggle through and achieve success. You know, just to see the smile and sharing their passion of reaping the rewards for the hard work that they have put in. I actually enjoy that. So, you know, there are times right now. I remember last year I was walking from home down to Half a Tree. You know, I said I was walking to see a friend down there. And everybody saw me on the road and I was like, Kwame, is something wrong with you? I said, no. Everybody stopped to give me a I said, no, I'm just walking down to Half a Tree because it's a normal life. I grew up in the country where we'd walk. So I walked down, I go to the park, I see how other people live from time to time, because you cannot sit in an office or in your nice home and really understand the struggles of other people. I would take the robo taxi at times, even though I have several vehicles. I take robo taxi, I see how other people live, I share in their experiences, and it makes you realize what other people experience. And you show a different level of gratitude to people when they support you, seeing what they have to come through to actually support your ventures or work for you or just to participate in anything that helps you to achieve success. So having a underground understanding of how people live and what they experience, I have no choice but to care for others.
That's right. That is so important. And boy, call me, I have a huge fan base in the comments here. Um, welcome Tamayo. We see you there, Jamaica. Kiddies. Um, uh, Michelle Anis. Kemar. Paulette. We see you guys. Michelle Whiteley. Sandra Sutherland. Welcome to the chat. The chat is heating up, guys. Call your friends, call your neighbors, call your family. Everybody should be tuning into this important conversation. The time of COVID is here, but we will overcome, guys. This is just another obstacle on our life journey. We've been through this before, whether it was not having the lunch money for school, whether it was not knowing where the next dollar would come from to pay our university fee. But we triumphed. And similarly, right now, with this quote-unquote challenge that we're facing, we will also overcome. So now, Basil and Kwame, I'll put this question to you. As you look back on your journey and you reflect on your successes and your failures, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
You know nothing. You know nothing. It's amazing. At 20, you thought you knew everything, and you were the master of your universe and the master of your destiny. And it's funny because if you ask me that question 20 years from now, what would you say to your 40-year-old self? You know nothing. What I would say to the 20-year-old Basil is there is so much about this world that you don't know. And until you expand your mind and expand your experiences, get away from Jamaica. I encourage young people all the time, the young boys who we talked about at JC, when you get the opportunity, leave Jamaica, go somewhere else. And I don't mean go to Miami for shopping or to go visit your grandparents in New York. Go to a foreign country. Go somewhere where they speak a different language. The culture is different. Go somewhere to see that life as you know it is just, you are just one small morsel in this universe, and you have no idea what you don't know. I mean, once I was able to recognize the limitation of being here in Jamaica, small country with a very limited, as great as our culture is, in many ways, it's very insular. We don't know a lot about our Caribbean neighbors, for example. And until I was forced to travel and develop an appreciation for overseas, it wasn't until then I realized that for me to be of real value to Jamaica, I have to look outside of Jamaica to see how I can improve what we do here in Jamaica. And that is something that I think is very important in establishing that vision. You have to see better in order to be able to do better. And there are a lot of things in Jamaica that we don't like. Some people, we're born here and we see these things and we think, well, that's just it. Life can't be any better than this. No, absolutely not. There's a whole new world out there. There's so much to learn. But until you get brave enough to leave the confines of your comfortable island, pick up as much knowledge as you can, and then bring it back home, that's when you're really going to be able to start adding value to this country. I left Jamaica a couple of times to study overseas, and I always knew that I'd be coming back to Jamaica to bring my knowledge and my skills back here. And it has really worked out for me, because when I talk to people, and to me, things that I have learned and come to appreciate as being, this is just known. There are a lot of people here who, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't think like that. I didn't know that you could do this that way. And so I would say to that 20-year-old person, Basil, expand your horizon, expand your mind, get new experiences. It will help you later on in life. And I think that's part of the reason, or that's part of the factors behind the you want to call it success that I've had so far, not only in engaging in young people, but in my attitude to work, having an outside mindset, but thinking globally, but bringing it back locally. It works a lot for me.
Yeah, that is so important, because as you rightly says, what it gives you is perspective on yourself, perspective on your life, perspective on what one can actually accomplish in life. Kiddis Khan says traveling opens up your mind to so much possibilities. She agrees with the major. Jessica says there is so much out there in the world. Investing in travel is an investment in yourself. So we have some serious people underscoring that point, the whole thing of perspective, of seeing life from another angle, and being the better for it. So Kwame, over to you. I put the same question to you. As you look back on your life's journey and you reflect on your successes and failures, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self, Kwame?
So I tend to agree a lot with what Major has said. It's funny that when you leave university, a learned individual, and you say, boy, you're bursting with knowledge. You're ready for the world. You're just eager to go out and impart what you have learned. And this newly built stock of knowledge, use it to create some value. But a few years down the road, you realize that, boy, a few years down the road, you realize that, boy, I did not know much. I really didn't know much. Mr. Branson, Richard Branson, one of the business people who I follow, he said when his parents asked him if he wanted to go and do a master's, he told them, the money that you're giving me to do the master's, I want to take it and travel the world, because I think after exploring the world, I must find something that is being done somewhere that I could take back home and use it to the benefit of my people, to create value and to build some wealth for myself. So that fits in exactly with what Major has said. Now, in my own personal experience, my dad is a ship captain. He has imparted to me, he says that of all his studies, the biggest knowledge that he has learned, or the biggest knowledge that he has garnered, was by traveling over 100 different countries in the world. Having gone to university, having done specialist courses, having done a master's, having lectured and tutored numerous courses, there is nothing that has brought him more knowledge than going out there in the world, experience the big world, and to see what is it that he could learn, take back to our little island. So I made it a personal mantra of mine to travel and to learn, to get experiences that helps me personally, that helps me in my job, that helps me to take my company to another level, and helps in the way that I serve my people, Jamaica. And how is it that I can improve the lives of others around me and improve my own life? So I say to people, at 20, we thought we knew a lot, but we don't. So going back 20 years, for me, it would have been to set a solid foundation, to be very hungry for knowledge, have a proper mentorship program with people who have been through and are experienced, learn as much from them as early as possible. Take myself out of a zone where I think in a limited way and to open my mind so that my universe was boundless. My thoughts, my vision would not have been boxed in by what I was experiencing around me. Like I said earlier, let your visions not be limited by your environment or your current circumstance, because the world is big. What you can achieve is boundless. As a 20-year-old, you need to know that you need to have the passion for knowledge, for experience, for know-how, and try to figure out how to improve upon that, help your current circumstance and create value for yourself. A lot of us go in search of wealth, but a popular business person said to me, don't seek wealth, seek create value, because as long as you continue to create value, you will continue to generate wealth. And that was profound with me, because people will pay for value. So if you're adding value to people's life, if you're adding value to your company, you will be rewarded. And if your company is generating value for people, then they will be rewarded and you will be rewarded accordingly.
Yeah, it reminds me of a common quote we hear. People say that if you want to start a business, just simply find a problem and find a solution for that problem. And it's the same idea. Seek to add value, and value will come to you because it will be reciprocated.
Yeah.
And along the line of what you've said, Kwame, Paulette Franklin says, traveling is its own university. Hi, Sasha Taylor. Hi, Miguel Walker, Angela Beeson, Akeem Reed. We'll see you guys out there. All right. So as you journeyed through life, guys, and you press through with determination, we know that facing obstacles is a rite of passage. It is often our perspective and how we deal with those challenges that create the human being that we become. So, Major Jared, back to you. Can you reflect on a moment in time that you are able to triumph over a major obstacle? To the word major obstacle, and it possibly changed the trajectory of your life. What was that major obstacle? And tell us of that story.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. January 1999, or just prior to that. Now, I grew up watching A Different World on TV. and the Cosby Show. Well, Bill Cosby before he was Bill Cosby, right? And I used to watch A Different World, and I always used to say, I want to go to college in the US. I want to experience that. Remember what I said earlier about having that vision, and didn't have the money, obviously, but I knew that I wanted that college experience. Not just because, you know, I knew the value of education, but it looked like fun. And so when I was working in advertising very early, it was my very first career. I was working in advertising, and I wanted to go overseas to do my MBA and to get that college experience that I saw in A Different World, but there was no money. And so in January 1999, I took the GMAT and got accepted to study in the States. Didn't have any money. Sold all my worldly possessions. Sold my car, my comic books, my stereo, everything. Left Jamaica with about $250,000 or the equivalent of about 14,000 US. Got to university, walked in to register, and as I was signing up the financial documents, the guy who was working in international students admission said, Mr. Jarrett, $14,000, that's tuition for one semester. Where are you gonna live? How are you gonna eat? And how are you gonna pay for the next semester? And it was a guy, Steve Chin, a St. George's old boy. Really moved like a JC man, but good youth. And he said, all right, here's what you're gonna do. You're going to deposit this money in a bank account. We're going to get you on a payment plan, and you're going to have to go over there and show that this university that you have value. And if you've ever lived in the States and you've heard the term work like a Jamaican, that was me. I had about a dozen jobs. I worked in the library. I worked in the alumni affairs office. I worked in the gym. I worked in wherever there was a job. At one point, the university wrote me and said, Mr. Jarrett, stop. At this rate, we're going to owe you, and you're going to lose your student visa because you're going to be in violation of the 20 hours. And I worked my tail off. I just needed to hear that there was a job, and I'm your man. Eventually, remember what I said earlier about people recognizing dedication and determination and an appreciation for hard work. Eventually, people recognized that, you know, this guy has something about him. You know, he has a nice work ethic. He seems to be of good character, and he's Jamaican. He's fun to be around. In no time at all, I was suddenly gaining a bit of notoriety on the campus. By the next semester, I had a grad assistantship, which covered half of my tuition. I become a resident assistant, which paid for room and board and meals, 3 meals per day. I was also the editor of a school newspaper, which paid for the other half of my tuition. And in the space of one semester, my entire MBA was paid for. I had made enough money to pay for a second master's, and I came home from Jamaica in January 2004 with 2 master's degrees and not a dollar in student debt, student loans. And that was simply because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted to get out of it. And I knew that in order to get it, I had to put in the hard work, and I had to show people that I wasn't afraid of the hard work. And yeah, that's how I was able to come back to Jamaica in 2004 to offer something to my home.
Right. So as you rightly put it, you work like a Jamaican.
Six
All right. Yes. All right. Kwame, over to you. So what helps you to keep going when you feel like giving up, Kwame? Those days when things tough, rough, COVID is happening, all kind of obstacles are in your way. What keeps you going when you feel like giving up?
You know, it would be a lie if I say I don't have days when I feel like calling it quits. But we all experience that. But what is it that drives us? Now, one of the driving factor for me was that I have no alternative. As a matter of fact, having been the one who stepped up, there were so much people now depending on me, because I have become the go-to for the family. So how can the go-to for the family give up? How can the go-to person quit? I have to again go back to the religious beginnings at Monroe and elsewhere. And each time I feel down, I just have to remember that I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. Now, I'm a father. I have to be an example to my kids. I have to ensure that when I push them, they will see the example in me that I wasn't a quitter. I wasn't a coward. I'm not going to leave that legacy behind. I want to be able to say to them, go hard. You know, in Jamaica, we say, go hard or go home. And that's the only way to reap success. Go hard or go home. It's not about quitting, right? No one has to learn to take risks. You have to learn to manage, study, and understand the risk that you take. Know that you will be vulnerable at times. Know that you're putting yourself on the line to reap success or to make a difference. So yes, you will be vulnerable, but you must create a support system. I must say I have a group of friends that they are so supportive. I have a group of friends coming from First Farm at Monroe. That's a lot of years, it's over 30 years. So we are very supportive of each other. I have friends from university. I have friends from the working world. I have very supportive co-workers, friends, and family. I've learned that in my weakness, then I should seek to get strength from those who are in a better place than I am. I'm not afraid when I'm down to speak to somebody who is more experienced. I'm not afraid to speak to a professional. I'm not afraid to call a friend or a family member and say, hey, I'm having a moment. I need someone to lean on. Tell me what to do here. Give me some advice here. Give me some advice here. So for me, when one is down, one should seek, lean on people with experience, lean on people who are professional, lean on people who will not be judgmental and can be truthful to you and give you worthwhile feedback that will strengthen you, right? So that is what keeps me pushing. And I made a commitment to my mom. We used to sing this hymn in church. Fight the good fight with all thy might. You understand? So I've learned that the world will be full of challenges. And you have to fight this fight. Lean on God for those who have Christian background. Lean on friends, lean on families, lean on the professionals. Read a lot. Watch inspirational videos. Watch other people's experiences. Share in other people's life stories. These things will give you strength to carry on. In my field, I can tell you, being through a number of crises in the financial sector. I remember 2009. That was a very rough moment. And I remember going for about a month and all we ate was soup. Just soup. It was rough. But guess what? I had a leader at the head of my organization in East Duncan. I have friends that were strong. We rallied around each other. And personally, we learned to get strength from each other. That was insurmountable. It was a power of strength, leaning on team and family and support systems.
Sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, we always hear it said that people need people coming. You've perfectly highlighted that, and I think no more than ever with COVID, we are really seeing that. With being in quarantine, being in isolation, we really come to a space now where when we go to the office, we just can't wait to interact with people and to see people and to all of the family chats now blazing up because people have recognized the importance of needing other people. So along those lines, So both yourself, Major Jarrett and Kwame, who provided you with the greatest inspiration and why? Why would you say that person provided you with the greatest inspiration in your life?
Well, for me, those sources of inspiration changed over the years, if I'm to be 100% honest. When I was younger, I'm going to say maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, my grandmother was my everything. Um, I wanted to make her proud. She was a basic school teacher. She taught me. She was my very first teacher, and I learned early in life that. I mean, I grew up with a number of brothers. Let's leave it as that. And I realized early that when you grow up with a number of siblings, you have to differentiate yourself. And I learned early in life that if I did well in school, that's how I would stand out from my other brothers. Because, me being the first one, most of the pressure was on me. Your younger brothers, oh, he's a quiet one, he's a cute one, he's a troublemaker, that sort of thing. So I had to find a way to stand out. And I learned early, and it was because of the validation I got from my grandmother that education, school, being smart was going to be my that may have been my ticket to getting some attention. And she recognized that early in me, and she was always there to push me. And she taught me English. I'll never forget that. She taught me English, and she taught me, well, she introduced me to God, and she introduced me to spirituality and religion. And so very earlier on in my life, she was my number one inspiration. My grandmother is still very much alive, by the way. But then she left Jamaica in 1986 at a time when I was just about to start Jamaica College. And I needed a new source of inspiration. And up stepped my mother, because now I'm going to school, I'm getting a wider experience. I start to realize how much my mother sacrificed to put me through school and how much she was doing to help me through my high school years. And those continued right up until university. Sometimes I sit and I wonder, I don't know how I made it through university financially, but it was my mother who was there, literally the wind beneath my wings. When I left to go overseas, she'd send me a few dollars and write a little note and send it up for me. To this day, she's still calling me, hey, you guys down there, you have rice? I can send some rice. My mother is my greatest inspiration. But to be fair, where I am now in life, I find that when I get up in the morning and I look at my kids and I see them there sleeping, and I realize, I remember why I'm here. And this is why I do what I need to do, because I need to take care of these two little rugrats and set them on. So over the years, my source of inspiration has changed. It is where it is now. Don't know where it will change, but it's always something positive. The people I look up to and the people who inspire me, I've always taken good lessons from them.
Wow, wow, wow. And you bring me right back to the same thing.
So, in my case, I must say that my inspiration is shared between my mom and my great grandmother. So, both of them had similar personalities. My mother, she loved people. Yeah, my mother, she loved people. She valued relationships. She was a hard worker. She believed in her kids achieving and would do anything that's not illegal or immoral to ensure that she could provide for her kids. So my mother was my hero. I say was because she passed. Now, my inspiration right now, I have two sons who I must say are much smarter than I am, who are doing very well in school. And each time I look at them and their performance, I have no choice because, I must say that I feel like, boy, I can't disappoint them now because they look up to me. And I'll give you an example. My second son, I just got a letter from his school where he was initiated in the National Honest Roll Association for America, National Honest Students. He had an average of 99.6. My first son, he is like a hero in his school. When you go to his school, the teachers, everybody come to you, every student come to you. Are you Jaden's dad? I said, wow. No, these two guys look up to me so much as an inspiration that I have no choice but to keep pushing so that I can continue to be a role model for them and to have them push hard because they want to do their dad. Because that's their mission. The more I achieve and the harder I go, the better they do because the aim is that they want to outshine daddy. So we now have a competition at home where the boys are trying to be greater than what daddy is. And daddy is trying to get as much under his belt so that they never catch him up. So it's a competition and it's a camaraderie we have in the family that it is the ambition to drive and to push each other. And I got that from my mom and my grandma. They were always going hard to try to achieve. My dad, he went back to school when I thought people couldn't learn. he went back to do a master's when he was probably close to 60. And I was like, are you crazy? Why are you going back to school? He says, knowledge can never be too much. So I have these people around me who inspire me, who drive me, go and achieve, go and learn, go and make a difference in the world. Because one thing I admire around my family is that they are a lover of people and of the environment. Because we believe in preserving our relationships with people and our relationships with the environment in which we live. And that inspires me. And I must say, I have to say that I benefit from a lot of support from people that helps to inspire me. I have a supportive partner. I have I have supportive friends. I have supportive co-workers. I have supportive family members that keep pushing you. I have a friend who says, listen, you are the smartest one of us all. And if we achieve, you better not let us achieve more than you because we'll be disappointed because you're smarter than us. So they keep pushing you so much that you have no choice but to just keep going and going and going. And you just want, it feels good to achieve
Absolutely.
and to inspire. It feels good when somebody look up and say, you're the reason why I achieve. You're the reason why I push so hard. It really brings joy to be able to inspire others.
Amazing. Indeed, indeed, Kwame. Iron sharpeneth iron. So we want to sharpen the iron of the iron of our audience now. So we want to help our audience and give them some usable tips to make decisions that will help them to triumph through determination. Major Jarrett, what tips can you share to help anyone to overcome trials and obstacles in their life?
Mark, one of my duties with the JDF is dealing with crisis, coming up with crisis communication strategies whenever there's a emergency or some issue that is causing us some amount of angst. And over the years, I've had to develop keeping a very cool head, regardless of how bad the situation is. I was just reflecting on my career the other day, and I realized that in my In my 12 years in the JDF, I've overseen at least 7 aircraft accidents from all over the place. And when you work in crisis communication, that's probably one of the worst things that you could ever want to deal with. And over the years, I've sort of developed a philosophy behind crisis management and crisis communication. And it's that there's opportunity in every crisis. Even when you can't see it, the opportunity is there, even if it's just the learning experience that it gives you. And I think that is a lesson that we can take to our personal lives, that there is there is opportunity in every crisis. You just have to be able to look for it and recognize it. You're facing an obstacle, you're in the moment, your vision, you're very tunnel vision right now because the emergency is happening, some obstacle is in front of you, and you can't see your way out. Sometimes the best way to figure it out is just leave it alone. Step back, take a broader view, and somewhere in all of this, you will see a nugget of opportunity. Yes, COVID is upon us. I don't know when we're going to see the light at the end of this tunnel, but is COVID giving us an opportunity to reassess how we do things, to see how we can do things better? These online meetings I'm very curious to see just how productivity has increased since we've gone online. I know that in my work, to some extent, I've become much more productive because I can be doing 50 things at once while I'm still sitting down there and pretending to be interested in what you're saying. But after COVID, this technology may very well change how we live our lives, how we learn. A few years ago, an online degree would be something that you would scoff at. Now, all degrees are going to be online. So it's just a matter of you looking at that obstacle, stepping away from it, taking a broader picture to see where is the nugget of opportunity here? What can I take away from this to be stronger, more resilient, and be a better person after this? Because it will go away, and we've all faced obstacles in life, and those obstacles probably beat us down because we just weren't looking in the right direction to see what that opportunity was. And you talk about that 20-year-old self. When I look back at that person and I see how many opportunities presented themselves to me when I was at my lowest, or when I thought that things were really bad, I wasn't knowledgeable enough. And no one had said to me, young man, there is opportunity in every crisis. You just know where to find it. That is what I like to leave with the viewers tonight. You just need to look to see where to find it.
Wow. Well said, well said, well said. So Kwame, we're gonna keep it real tonight, right? The truth of the matter is that sometimes in life we make mistakes, and the disappointment from having made these mistakes wants to paralyze us from moving forward. Has this ever happened to you? Number one, what advice would you give to someone who is going through this now? This whole period of feeling disappointed or having just made a mistake. What advice would you give them?
Well, say we haven't made mistakes would be so far from reality. We all have. We all have. One thing we must admit, I grew up with this poem in my living room, and it had stayed with me for life. And I'm going to just read it. It's very short. It says, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Now, my approach to mistakes, I have the AAA approach. First thing, you must admit your mistake. Secondly, you must accept and seek to get the learning from the situation. And thirdly, you must action steps that takes you along the corrective path so that going forward, you will not repeat the mistake. An ex-boss of mine once said to me, I will not be upset if you make a mistake, but I will go crazy if you make a mistake and don't let me know about it so that we can have it fixed quickly. So for me, making mistakes is a part of life. Making mistakes is being human. It's not anything, it's not the end of the world. And it's not like, oh, you're now an outcast because you have made a mistake. But take responsibility, accept the actions, and figure out quickly how to rebound from the situation. You will have confidence that you can lean on, confidence that you respect, and share with people and gain energy from people. I can say a lot of times when I feel down and out because I've made mistakes, I've had to share with partner, and I've gained extreme support from my partner, and I've gained extreme support from my friends. And sometimes I'll get a call. I haven't heard from you in X days. Is everything okay? Because we know you're normally a part of us. Come and have a drink. If something is wrong, let's talk about it. Or if you don't want to talk, just have a drink and feel better and then go and deal with it. So, and here at JMB, I must say that JMB supports people. JMB provides counseling. JMB provides a framework in which you can share with management, share with your team members. And one thing about us here, we don't ever go too hard on people for making a mistakes, because we know making mistakes, because we know mistakes are being human. And so therefore, whenever you make a mistake and you feel like it's the end of the world, it's not. Because I'll tell you, a lot of good fortunes that we are experiencing, and a lot of things that we benefit from came from somebody's mistake. It is a lesson that was learned from somebody's mistake. And that is what has brought forward solutions, right? I follow the saying that says, developments and results begins at the end of excuses. So don't use a mistake as an excuse not to go forward. Use it as a platform to propel yourself, prove to others that though you may fall, you will not fail, because falling is not failure. It only becomes failure when you don't get up and move forward.
Why? I can't call me. That was excellently said, bro. So, at JMB, we believe in love and forgiveness, as Kwame touched on earlier on. And I'd encourage you, all Jamaicans, reach out, especially now during COVID, with the whole thing of quarantine, the whole thing of isolation. It's more than ever. Just like how the person reached out to Kwame, you want to go have a drink? You're all right. If you don't want to talk about it, just come. We want to encourage you all. We're our brother's keeper. Love is critically important. Forgiveness, and especially forgiveness of self. Not to harp on the mistakes, but to continue to push forward and to use your mistake as a platform for success going forward. So Jamaica. This was an inspiring conversation on the drivers to success. We want to thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time out with us tonight. Your words were thoughtful and inspiring. A big thank you for staying engaged, our audience, staying with us during these Goal Getter webinars. If you missed any of our previous webinars, you may watch them on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and LinkedIn pages. Each week, we will continue to go live with webinars where JMB's financial experts and other dynamic guests share how we can navigate these challenging times. Remember, it is all about the men this month, so stay tuned for the next topic next week. Follow us on our social media channels to know what exciting topics we're going to be covering next week. We will stick with you because together, we will overcome. Stay tuned and connected with JMB. Follow us on our social media channel for more insightful information. As your financial partner, with your best interest at heart, we ask that you continue to stay safe and do all that is necessary to protect yourself and your loved ones. Good night. Don't forget to wash your hands, wear your mask, and protect your personal space. Bye, Jamaica.
Night all.